Probably in my life, my richest correspondence has been with poets. Um, though it's run the gamut of composers, musicians, painters that I have known, filmmakers, of course, theatrical people, actors. I have been involved with people in all of the arts, even occasionally architecture. But probably poets, because I was an avid poetry reader and wanted to be a poet since I was 9 years old. I remember vividly assuming by the time I was 10 that I was a poet, and was working toward being a poet. I was introduced to Pound by my high school friends. They gave me Pound's cantos as a joke, thinking, here's a book he won't be able to read. And indeed, I did find it hard to read. Maybe only could read, maybe 1 in 5 phrases made any real sense to me at first. And of course, all the foreign language and all the glyphs and so on. But I persisted, and I'm still persisting. I have to teach Hollywood films. And I never in the world saw a Hollywood film that needed more than coffee table exposition, after the movie, chit-chat. Never saw one that needed furtherance of thought. And in fact, isn't that the point? It's at least one of the reasons that I go to them, is that it suspends the burnt-out brain for a couple of hours. But people insist on making much of it. And indeed, of course, they can. I mean, in honesty, they can, and so can I. So I use the time to try to increase our visual possibilities, our psychological sensibilities. Yeah, narrative cinema is to me, first of all, it's a great pleasure. I grew up with it. It's my mommy and daddy at the movies. I loved the theater also and engaged with it vibrantly in junior high and high school and afterwards. They're my hobbies and my church, in effect. Movies are, certainly. That's where I go and can sit in auditoriums and commune with people, in some deep sense, share the same tears and the same joys with people in the darkness in the theater, all of us staring at the light. Well, one of the major things in film is that you have 24 beats to the second, or 16, or whatever the projector's running at. That you're in a medium that has a bass beat that's intrinsically Baroque. And aesthetically speaking, it's just appalling to me to try to watch, for example, as I did, Eisenstein's Battleship Potemkin on video. I mean, it dulls all the rep of the edit, and because video looks, in comparison to the sharp, hard clarities of snapping individual frames and what that produces at the cut, video looks like a pudding that's virtually uncuttable, like a jello. It's all a shake with itself, and furthermore, as a colorist, it doesn't interest me because it is whatever color anyone sets their receptor to. It has no fixed color. My eyes are the poorest aspect of all my physiology, and it is quite sensible and understandable that for those reasons and along those lines, I have developed vision. I mean, in order to be able to see it all, I had to have such rapid eye shifts and movements that ophthalmologists who were testing me against charts, who were perfectly aware with the aberrations of my eyes, I shouldn't be able to even see where the chart was on the wall, have also commented that they never saw anyone with such rapid eye movements, and speculated, I think quite correctly, that I was like putting together from fragments, rapidly parsed images in the mind. Now, in some sense, that's what anyone does, but because I was doing it so consciously, so completely consciously, it gave me an understanding and a deep involvement with eyes, eye-brain, the mind's eye, not just what the light passes through. Almost anything that I was given to photograph that I was emotionally involved in, I could have done so because my growing, constantly growing, and finally come to be centered focus of my being, of all my making, is to discover the process of sight itself, the mind's eye, not just the shifts and saccades of these little jellied orbs, but their limits and possibilities too, and the crossbreed of neurons that make the eyeball so close to the brain you can call it a surfacing of the brain. The whole innards, not just of brain, but as that reaches out to the fingertips along the whole nervous system, to create a nervous system feedback of visual music. And I began that without knowing quite what I was doing in Dog Star Man when I painted on film. I think painted film has just, I'm almost speechless, as to what to say about it. Just everything seems opening infinitely in ways that other areas of film seem more and more preclusive. Like whatever could be done there has been done, and it came to not enough, obviously, or one would feel it opening too. All these various other photographies that I did, as well as what I was doing at home, were increasingly involved with the inner receptors of envisionment. And finally, beyond the receptors, that is what our optic system, which is receiving what the light spanks and is focused in on our brain, beyond that, the streamings of unnameable shapes and colors and tones and rhythms in what I call moving visual thinking, which is the feedback of the whole system itself in response to what's being spanked in on it with light, and in response to its whole hierarchies of symbols. It's one could say left brain, symbols and symbolism, signs, numbers, and words, of course, which tend to delimit one's ability to be aware of what a lit candle human beings just normally are all the time, going along being. I was after a poem. I was after a poem in as simple a sense as anyone in love might pick up a pencil and write a poem, pick up a camera and make a film.